am a steak girl. I love steak. It just so happens that Ruby Cattle Company here in downtown Livingston has their steak coulottes on sale for the month of December. So I've got one. I'm going to show you how I make it. Okay, so on the steak coulotte, you're going to want to look at the back part of the meat and see if there's any of these little silvery fatty pieces, which it looks like there's just one, okay? And then also, so this is kind of a lean cut of meat, but on the back side of it, there's a fat cap, okay? And so you don't want to trim this because this is where all the flavor is. Okay, but what I am gonna do is cut this in, I would say maybe 1 to 1.5 inch steaks, maybe 1 inch. Okay, so they look like this. Okay, so now I've got these all cut up, and then I patted them dry with a paper towel. That way it just got some of the moisture off, which will help create a better sear. Okay, and then all I'm gonna do is just season this heavily with coarse salt and coarse pepper. And you know, I just really like to keep my steaks pretty simple. And I don't do a lot of marinating and seasoning and all that, because really the meat is just so flavorful, and especially the quality of the meat, because Ruby Cattle Company, their meat is hormone-free, grass-fed, and so that alone is just going to give you a lot of flavor in your meat. Okay, and then I had forgot to say this earlier, but I let the steaks get room temperature. Okay, that way when you go to sear it, it'll help the temperature in the middle of your steaks. It'll help your cooking time. Okay, so let's get these cooked up. Okay, so I've got my skillet heated, and I added some avocado oil, because that will cook at a higher temperature than versus like olive oil. So what I'm gonna do is take my beef coulottes, and I'm gonna put them fat side down in the pan first. Okay, because what I'm gonna do is want to render some of that fat off. I'm gonna let this cook for a few minutes. Okay, so I cooked the fat cap just maybe 3 minutes on that side, just because I want to get that part really good and done. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it to another side and let that cook for about 2 minutes. Okay, so now it's ready to turn it again. So I'm gonna turn it on the next side, but you wanna sear it on all sides. So I'm just gonna move it to the edge of my pan and let that side cook a few minutes. Okay, so last side. Okay, let that cook a few minutes. Okay, so now that it's cooked on all sides, I'm gonna add maybe about 4 tablespoons of butter. And the reason why I'm adding that in now, and then let me turn my heat down. The reason why I'm adding that in now is so that the butter doesn't burn. I'm gonna also add in a couple cloves of garlic that I crushed and peeled. And then I'm also gonna add in some thyme. Okay, and so then what I'm gonna do is just start basting just over the steak. And then I'm gonna let this cook maybe for just a few more minutes. But what that's gonna do is just marry all that flavor together. And the butter I'm using is grass-fed butter, so that has a good flavor. And then it's just gonna keep your steak moist. So let me get those cooked for just a few more minutes. Okay, so now they're done. So what I'm gonna do is just move them to my cutting board. And really your cook time is just gonna depend on how you like your meat, or the thickness of the cut of your meat, or the type of cut of meat. So what I'm gonna do is get this covered up with tinted foil, and I'm just gonna let this hang out and rest for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, it's done, so let's try it. Okay, so whenever I cook my steaks, I kind of like them medium well. Okay, and then one thing I forgot to say, when I was cutting the steaks, I cut it with the grain, and then when you cut it against the grain, so it really makes your steak tender. So let's try it. Y'all, that is perfection. So this is how I make my steak coulotte. I'm so excited to share it with you. Let me know how you love it in the comments.